Hey guys. So today's video, as you can tell from the title, is going to be about weight loss. So before we get started, I'm going to say the most obvious thing, the most unnecessarily obvious thing I can possibly think to say at this moment, which is if you can't handle this conversation, if weight is incredibly triggering for you, okay, bye. Like, go do something safe. I don't know what to tell you. You see what the title is, you know what time it is, you're showing up anyway. Like, people who watch videos like this and get super bent out of shape about things that don't directly apply to them, I'm always like, if you're going to care so passionately about something you make not $1 doing, why don't you go volunteer? I'll never understand it as long as I live. But anyway, I'm gonna break this video down into a few sections just because I do not simply want to discuss weight loss, like how I lost weight, which we will talk about. And I'm not even done, y'all. I'm not even done. I'm only halfway done with this process. That's the crazy thing. But I am aware that my weight from here on out, as it drops, is gonna be a lot more significant and much more noticeable to you guys. I'd rather just get out in front of this and talk about it. But I wanna talk even more so about what I have learned now that I've lost this weight. And this is actually a two-part video. Like, today we're talking about weight loss and the psychology of it and mixed messages we get in the media and maybe mixed messages we're fighting within ourselves. But the other part of this series is going to be about my experience with mental health medication and my mental health journey, my whole deal with that. Because it turns out, as with a lot of us, barring any significant health issues that you have no control over, for the most part, you'd be shocked how many of us are walking around carrying this extra weight, extra debt, extra deadbeats, whatever it is, simply because our mental health is a complete and total nightmare. And spoiler alert, sometimes medication isn't, maybe it's not so much that medication isn't always the answer, but it is not the only answer, and it certainly needs to be a part of a larger plan, all of which we're going to get into in this series. Definitely stay tuned for that. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe if you're new here, thumbs up the video if you enjoy it. Come follow me on all my socials. I was gone for a couple of weeks because I had surgery. I'm fine, don't worry. And my baby is just kind of adjusting. If you have a new baby, like, you know, right when you get settled, shit's about to get shaken up a little bit. I'm trying, I'm doing the best I can. In fact, part of why I want to talk about my weight loss, my perspective around it, and my mental health is to kind of lay the foundation for Dark Feminine Fall and planning content, just a bunch of stuff I've wanted to do all year. And I think I felt the need to kind of state the case, reintroduce myself, and help you guys understand where a lot of my perspectives come from now. So all that being said, let's start first with weight gain and my experience with weight. I don't want to make this video so much just like, let me tell you my story. It's more because I think a lot of people can relate to this. Weight for me is something I have struggled with for about 10 years. I think we all know that there's a point in our adult lives, you know, of course there's people who have been overweight or struggle with body image since they were children. I struggled with body image my whole life for no reason. Until about 2014, I had never been significantly big or gained weight in any significant way. For me, it started in about 2014. And it started because something was going on in my life, something that I had been definitely not dealing with, definitely not confronting. It showed up and reared its ugly head. And I had a very hard time with it and started turning to food to kind of self-medicate. And it turns out, through lots of introspection, I do that a lot. It's almost like self-harm with food. Now, what's interesting about this starting in 2014 with the food thing is that part of what I was dealing with in 2014 is some people who hate me, do not like me, in my opinion, have literally never, ever liked me, but certainly didn't at that time. And one of the things they have always used as evidence of the horrible human being that I am is the fact that, I don't know, I'm hot. I'm serious, like, that's what it is. Through effort, you know what I mean? You guys see me on my channel, you know what I do, you know what I preach, you know what I'm about. But I've just always been a little glamour puss. I don't know what to tell you, like, literally since I was a little girl. I've just always been this way. No one taught me to be this way. Nobody sat me down and told me to. It's just the way that I am. And for some reason, it incensed these people. And I swear to God, this is something I was even cognizant of at the time. I even knew I was doing this, but it was almost like I could do nothing to stop it. I literally kind of decided on some level that if I want to appease these people, get them off my back, or at least somehow prove to them that the opinions they have of me are based on nothing but their own bullshit and lies, maybe the answer is to, like, this is going to sound harsh, but make myself ugly in a way. that was kind of the beginning of me falling off. One of the many times, and we'll talk about this moving forward, many times that I have just fallen off my glow journey. You know, the hair gets a little scraggly, the skin gets a little bad, the waistline gets a little bigger, I'm wearing pajamas all day, every day. It's literally why, if you go back a few years, I was making videos about like how to get yourself back after you let yourself go, or how to look your best every day. It's not just because I'm like, oh my God, if you're not hot, just die already. It's because for me personally, when those things go by the wayside, it is always a symptom of much larger issues. So in 2014, when I'm dealing with this situation, it's literally like I felt like I needed to prove something. I can't explain it. When I try to explain it, it sounds so stupid coming out of my mouth that I almost can't even form a sentence around it. But that's really where it started. It was so intentional, you guys. That's the screwed up thing about it. That's why I say it was like borderline self-harm with food. I would go out of my way once this situation kicked up to just eat as horrible as I can, like binge eat basically. I don't even know how much weight I gained during this time. I just knew that because like I avoided the scale like the plague, which we'll also talk about. But I did probably gain maybe like 20 pounds. I don't think it was a whole lot in the beginning, but I would never know, like I said, because I refused to weigh myself. But once the weight came on, it was almost like, well, the weight's already here, so I might as well put more of it on. And these are not things that I was like really weighing the pros and cons of in my head or thinking through. But when you are in a situation where, like I told you, I had pretty much already on some level decided that gaining weight was gonna earn me points. I don't know. Like I told you guys, it sounds so stupid coming out of my mouth. But then it was like, you know, I was emotionally exhausted from what I was dealing with at the time. Then on top of that, I am physically depleted because I'm stuffing my body with absolute bullshit as often as I could and not getting sunlight, not exercising. I really just wasn't being a healthy person in any shape, way, fashion, or form. And it, like I said, it literally was like the food and the way I was living my life day to day was a way of punishing I cannot explain. I get so uncomfortable talking about this. When I was just talking to my husband earlier today about some other thing that I'm trying to work out. And like, that's the whole, like I told you, the reason I'm talking about this and why I'm making the mental health video that I'm going to make in a little while, well, later on today. But sometimes when you go to actually explain why you do something that you do, like if you've actually sat and thought about it and really just pulled back and examined yourself, the words coming out of your mouth are so preposterous that it's like, I can't even finish the sentence half the time. So please, you know, have grace with me here. But anyway, I have gained and lost and gained and lost and gained and lost weight over and over and over and over and over again in these past 10 years. 2014, I start getting the weight initially. And then I spend the next couple years like pretty proactively working on it. I mean, I've done CrossFit, I did veganism, I've done Pilates, I've done yoga, I've done paleo, I've done macro counting, I've done everything. And I always got some success to it. Now, I did feel like I had to orient my entire life around it at the time. Like, I'm losing weight, so that's all I can think about and all I can do, and my whole life is dictated by my macro counter, and did I work out today? Like, it took up a lot of mental energy, but I truly believe outside of the stuff I was dealing with mentally and emotionally, it was almost like the weight and the fixation on it, whether it was a fixation on I feel fat, I'm fat, or what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? What am I going to work out? What is my macro saver today? It was like I was trying to give my brain something to do other than face or deal with the real root of the issues that I was struggling with. I'm going to go over this really quickly. I'll leave videos down below that get a lot more detailed about this because I don't want to talk about this shit every time I get on the internet, but because I like to talk to you guys about life and self-development and growth, and I've been super honest with you guys over the past 4 or 5 years about my life, it comes up because it's pertinent information. I had a really big mental health episode, like I told you guys before, we'll talk about it in the next video, that caused me to get on medication, which my weight was already an issue. By the time I got on this mental health medication, it ballooned my weight. I'm talking 30, 40 pounds overnight, basically. You can go back and look at my videos from 2022 and look at like January 2022 and then go to like April, May of 2022, and I literally have expanded in the most insane way humanly possible. And it was just from this medication. At this time in 2022, I'm already the biggest by far I've ever been. Well over 200 pounds, you guys. And for reference, I'm 5'6". I don't know. So when I was pregnant, they told me I was 5'5". I don't know if it's just like I was squatting. I don't know. Posture was bad, but I've also been told by doctors I'm 5'7". I'm just going to meet in the middle and say I'm 5'6". So I'm 5'6", over 200 pounds before I found out I was pregnant. Then I'm pregnant, and we all know what happens there. So I had put on, by the time this year rolled around and I started actually getting my shit together and working on this, oh my God, 80 pounds in 10 years. That's bananas. And I'm talking like well over 200 pounds. I'm not quite 250, but nowhere near 200. You know what I mean? I don't want to put all my shit out there, but it was bad. I even came back to YouTube back in February. I think I returned to social media after basically 2 years of taking time off. And I remember, you know, editing the video, or even filming the video. And I just look, it's not even so much like that I look at myself and I'm like, oh, that was not cute, Whitney Hedrick. It was more like I could just see how uncomfortable I was. Like insecure, uncomfortable, and that's what happens. Like let's call a spade a spade. All these people out here who are like, love your body. Great, fine, whatever, I guess, cool, but like you're expending effort either way you slice it. And if the effort is going to be expended improving yourself, that's one way of doing it. If the effort has to be expended gaslighting yourself within an inch of your sanity that you love this thing that you truly hate, I feel like you can see it on someone's face, because humans, especially in 2024 in the age of video essayists, have decided that they can just intellectualize the most basic aspects of humanity and then somehow that's gonna save them in the long run. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Most people, okay, especially like I said, maybe you've had weight issues your whole life. Like some people are just bigger people. I don't subscribe to the idea that everybody needs to be, like I remember being in my sophomore year of high school, and I've always been a really thin person until this 2014 shit started. Like I'm telling you, that's how I know it's emotional and it's not big bones or genetics. But I think in like my sophomore year of high school, I was maybe 115 pounds and I thought I was fat. That's what I'm saying. Like I've had body image issues, but they were incongruent with the reality of my body, which I actually think led to me gaining weight so much without realizing it. We'll talk, hold on. But anyway, I was talking to my best friend about it and she's like, Whitney, you're supposed to be 100 pounds if you're 5 feet, and then you add 5 pounds for every inch over that, which is just crazy. We're kids, we didn't know. But I think there are some people who do adopt that. This crazy idea that it's literally all about the scale and there is one type of body and be as thin as you, like, I don't think that's any healthier than I think the obese glorification is. Extremes are never ever the friggin' answer. But what I will say is like, you know, for the most part, if your body has evolved in any shape, way, or fashion or form, when your body evolves with or without your consent, I guess, it can mess with your head. And I feel like you can see that on people's faces in a way. And I know I certainly could. When I was looking, like I told you, I look at that video back from when I first came back to YouTube and I'm like, I look miserable. And that is a big part of why y'all didn't see me on social media for 2 years, because I could not consolidate who I know I am on the inside, the healthy, normal version of myself, with who I had turned into. And now I want to talk really quickly about how I lost the weight. Let's get this out of the way. It was semaglutide. Oh my God. Leave me now. I know, stone me, throw me in the stocks, whatever. Hear me out. I understand that, first of all, there's a million ways to lose weight. Like I told you, I've done all of them over the past 10 years. And I understand there are a lot of people who just are not going to be down injecting a drug into their body, particularly for something like weight. I get it. I hear you. Objection sustained. I will offer this. For me personally, not all the weight that I put on, okay? But certainly the last 40 pounds or so, at least, that I put on was from another medication. A medication that, as we'll talk in the mental health video, kind of saved my life, you know, for better or for worse, but really wrecked shop on my body. Like I've told you guys before, my hair was falling out. My skin was the worst it's ever been. I gained a shit ton of weight and I was a zombie. Sure, I'm not having panic attacks 10 times a day anymore, but I also am just not me at this point. Fighting fire with fire here, to me, I don't know. Perhaps I have justified it to myself, but I really don't care because it's been effective and it has worked. Honest to God, I don't know where I would be right now without this, especially because my baby is about 15 months old. I hate the idea that women feel a lot of pressure to lose weight after they have a baby, because let's be honest, you are exhausted as it is when you have a new baby. You're busy as shit. You don't have time to, like, all the energy in the world goes to this baby. Like, even finding time for self-care is really not an option. So I don't know, without this, medical assistance that I've had, if I could have lost any weight this year. And look, I needed to, even outside of all the aesthetic reasons and not liking how I looked and the identity crisis of it all. The biggest issue was like, my actual health was suffering. So when I was pregnant, I was about 6 months pregnant, 5 months, I don't know, whenever they give you the diabetes test, I had gestational diabetes. And you can get gestational diabetes even if you're, 5'3" and 109 pounds soaking wet. Sometimes it just is the luck of the draw. It really is. However, my very first doctor's appointment I had for my pregnancy, I was already like over 200 pounds at that point. You can imagine where it went from there while I was pregnant. But I was already pre-diabetic. My labs showed it. So I'm sure getting pregnant did not help anything, but I did have to live like somebody with type 2 diabetes for 3 months, before my son came. And that alone was a huge wake-up call for me. That was a very, very difficult thing. There's also was a component of shame attached to it. Like, if you've ever had significant health issues, and some of them are preventable and some of them are not, but the ones that deep in your spirit you could have done better at preventing, you kind of feel embarrassed. I felt embarrassed about it, very much so. Hard to explain why. I could get into it another time, but the long story short is I like having proof that my health was this out of whack was very, very humbling and really put into perspective for me how much work I needed to do on myself. I had other symptoms along with the weight that were issues. I tell you guys all the time, I don't want to ever talk to you guys much about my symptoms. I don't need y'all in the comment section trying to diagnose me. I'm a hypochondriac. I don't need your help. However, I can tell you just from the weight I have lost so far, which is about 45 pounds this year. And some people have apparently lost like 40 pounds in 2 months on Ozempic. I don't know how they did it. I feel like mine's been kind of gradual. I don't have any regrets. It's the dosage I'm on. I'm sure I can go up in my dosage. I've chosen not to. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But as I've lost this weight and I'm 45 pounds down with roughly at least 30 to go, 35 to 40 is my dream, but 30 I'll be happy with. Even that much weight loss, that much weight off my frame, I cannot believe I was able to walk around in a body that size and not just pass out from exhaustion. If anyone gave you an 80-pound suitcase and was like, carry this around everywhere you go, all day, every day, it would get on your nerves. It would make your life objectively harder. It would put tension on your body. It makes even sitting uncomfortable. Like, it really took, and like even to the point where I'll look in the mirror sometimes, you know what you do when you're like losing weight, you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see it now. Knowing that I'm still 30 to 40 pounds away from where I was in 2014 when I started gaining this weight, it doesn't even make any sense that I could get that big. It's hard to consolidate. And look, the point of this video is not to wag my finger at you. What's wrong with you? That's not the point. I am here coming to you as someone who is in the thick of it with you, who is trying to unpack this as well. I just think we live in a time where information and conversations around health and weight have gotten so intellectualized and politicized that it's harming people. So the last time I successfully lost weight with any significant, measurable, noticeable difference was in 2019, right before my mom died. I put not all of it, but I put some of the weight back on shortly after she died. Hello, like I told you, I think food is like a form of self-harm for me. I had so much, guilt comes with the passing of a loved one. I spent a lot of time in the guilt area and just pain in general. And I ate that weight back on. And I remember, so this is 2020, I remember kind of being aware of that. And like, I worked really hard to lose the weight that I lost in 2019. It was macro counting and CrossFit. I mean, like I told you, it took over my whole damn life when I was trying to lose weight in the past. And when I realized I put that weight back on, I was like, maybe I need to get in my body positivity bag. Maybe this all really is on some bullshit, this, that, and the third. And I kind of tried to get there. I think the loudest, shrillest, most obnoxious screamers of the body positivity movement are probably like low-key psychopaths. I'm not even kidding. I'm talking about like obese positivity, not like the regular degular, you do not have to look like an airbrush person to have value. That's not what I'm talking about. Let's find the middle path here. Those people, there's something deeply psychologically unbalanced about them. But I think a lot of people who are in this body positivity movement or whatever are just trying to consolidate the struggles they're having with their body and the psychology of that with basically trying to adopt an ideology that can help them move through life a little bit more easily, when in fact, I think, in my opinion, at least from my experience, it can actually make it harder. It really can. Because like I said, you can spend all your energy trying to lose weight and trying to get healthy, or you can spend all your energy trying to convince yourself of something that you know is not true. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's a very distressing place for your psyche to be in. It doesn't like to be there. Well, excuse me. It will happily go there to keep you safe, but it does cause a lot of anxiety. It's very stressful. But anyway, all that being said, the body positivity thing, gaslighting yourself into liking being fat. Look, truly, if you are comfortable where you are with your body, then you should stay there. Absolutely. But if you're not, you should not at all feel compelled to convince yourself of something that is not true. In 2024, I feel like that is one of the biggest things people have got to get right with, is like I said, it is so easy to politicize and intellectualize everything now that people have started to guilt themselves for even questioning the reality of certain situations. And for me, the body positivity shit is one of the biggest examples of that. You know, I know there's a huge conversation like, well, because of Ozempic, we're going to see early 2000s skinny culture come back. Look, the pendulum always swings the other way. We have spent the past, I don't know, it feels like it's been 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, where we're really deeply entrenched with this body positivity shit. It was always going to swing the other way. It just always will, you guys. Even if you look at any time in history, that is always what happened. So I don't know. If truly body positivity was the solution to everything, nobody would have gotten on this drug. I promise you. There's even people, and I'm not going to call anybody out their name, that I've seen over the past couple years, and like, look, let's call a spade a spade. They can get up here all day and be like, it's not Ozempic. Like, it probably is. If people have been struggling with weight for a long time and suddenly, ever since 2021, 2022, they've managed to get thinner than they ever have, it's Ozempic. I've seen people who, in the media, who have lost significant weight on this drug, who once upon a time were like, I'm more than my body. Women and thinness and body positive. But the minute they were given an antidote to this, that they were basically told like, here, take this and you can be skinny, they're like, shit, yeah, where do I stick it? Because that is so symptomatic of this issue that I'm trying to present to you guys about this whole weight thing culturally. The body positivity thing for me was wild because it seemed like the beginning of it, or one of the points of it, was like, we need to take the emphasis off of women's bodies. Women's bodies need to stop being the most interesting thing about them. And yet, the body positivity movement did nothing but make people talk about it more. So you're still obsessing over bodies. You obviously want to obsess over bodies. You obviously want women's bodies to be policed and discussed and dissected, but just the ones that you have. Miss me with this. So, sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent. It's not even part of what I wanted to talk about today, but because I already know there's going to be people in my comment section like, you're promoting. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like, I've seen the hypocrisy. I've been alive long enough. I've seen enough trends come and go. I've seen enough people run their mouth but be so incredibly full of shit enough times to know that, like, you got to do what works for you at the end of the day, baby. Period. So let me answer the questions I know I'm going to get about semaglutide. Because I'm not on Ozempic. I'm on a compounded whatever version of it. Have I had side effects? The first month I was on it, which was the starter dose we started at, which was like 0.25. I'm now on 1.0. The only thing I really dealt with at the time was being tired, which, look, was not hard for me to be. I didn't even start this process until my son was 7-8 months old, because like I told you, when you have a new baby, it's borderline antisocial behavior to expect women to snap back like that, because literally every second of your day, every thought in your head is consumed with your child, that it's just I don't know how people do it, frankly. I mean, good for them, but I just didn't have it. So I didn't even start trying this until my baby was 7-8 months. I was already tired. I was already so tired. So it compounded that a little bit. And I just remember like having to take naps. I kind of felt like I was pregnant again. It's just like that first trimester exhaustion. I kind of dealt with that. And, you know, there's some nausea. There's a couple times a day where I kind of get hit with it, like a wave of it, but it lasts like 10 seconds and then that's it. 2 times I have vomited. 1 time was because of a cheeseburger. And like, look, as far as my diet is concerned, the beauty of this medication is, you know, people say like, oh, it shuts out the food noise. It really does. Remember I told you earlier when it felt like for years my brain was just enjoying something to do, anything other than facing what was really bothering me. Let me just fixate on weight for a while, you know? That has changed. So I am able to lose weight at this point when I've already got a ton going on. I'm trying so hard to get back to work, but again, I have a baby. Everything goes to the baby right now. So being able to like passively lose this weight without losing my mind is like a gift I did not know I needed. It's not that my diet has been perfect the whole time, but I'm too scared of getting, because you hear horror stories. People be like, oh my God, I was in the hospital, I was puking, I busted an eye blood vessel from vomiting, I've been on diarrhea forever. Like, diarrhea forever? Does anybody know what movie that's from? So I've been scared, frankly, to do too much, but every once in a while, you know, I will have pizza with my family if they order out, or if we go out to dinner, maybe I'll have like an onion ring, but I just physically can't eat a lot of it. So this one day in particular, I ate a little bit of a cheeseburger, the same amount I can even physically handle, but for some reason, it woke me up at 4 a.m, projectile vomiting a little bit. And then the other time was I took a shot of tequila and then immediately I vomited. I think it was the acidity in it. I don't know. But that's being the extent of it. I really don't drink much anyway. Like, I haven't been a drinker in my life for years. It's something I do very rarely. I just had a wild hair at my butt and decided to do it. And now I will not do it again. Even if it was a fluke, it's not worth the risk of humiliating myself at a restaurant because I just gotta have a cocktail, you know? So yes, I vomited twice, but you know, I feel like I just amended those behaviors. Look, like I said, I have a 15-month-old. If this medication was lowering my quality of life in any significant way, there's no way I could even keep it up. I just wouldn't be able to handle it. There has been a little bit of stuff going on. Like I said, I was tired at first. There's a little bit of nausea. Still, I had it earlier today, just like for a minute, but then it's gone. It's just not enough to stop me from staying the course, especially because like I'm halfway to my goal. The next question, am I gonna stay on it forever? I'm just thinking of like questions I asked or I had when I first started. Am I gonna be on it forever? I don't know. It depends on a lot of things. I just had surgery, like I told you guys, and you know, they run a bunch of labs on you and check everything. My labs look great. My blood pressure is better. My resting heart rate is better. Everything is better. So insofar as like medicine is intended to heal, this has healed a multitude of things I was dealing with physically, and then the mental, emotional aspect of my life surrounding weight and body image has drastically improved as well. Now, here's what I will say. I do know that based on everything I've been able to learn about myself in this process, which we're about to get into now, that if I don't truly dig this shit out and fix what's really going on with me, I will gain it back. This is why you will see people be like, just like I started the video, I did this diet and I did that and it goes up and it goes down and you gain it right back. There's a reason it's doing that. And it could be from any number of factors. I can only speak for myself, and what I honestly believe is a huge majority of the population. So much of our issues with food are psychological. Well, it's twofold. It's horrible marketing around what food even is anymore, and our inability or unwillingness, I guess depending on how you look at it, to take that into our own hands and have more control over it. I think that's one of the first reasons. And the second reason is psychology. So let's talk a little bit about all this while, oh wait, let me finish up my thoughts on semaglutide. Will I be on it forever? It depends. Will my body tolerate it forever? Will I have adverse health problems? This is a long-term plan with a long-term strategy, and there is an exit strategy in place. This is not something I just decided to do one day. From the minute I heard about Ozempic, the second I heard about it, which was maybe 4 to 6 months before I got pregnant, I have been thinking about this. I have been looking into it. I have been weighing the pros and cons. Like, I don't ever do anything like that to my body without really thinking it through. Hello, I have tattoos. Some of them I hate. I've learned my lesson. I think this shit through now. I have plans for, when I hit my goal weight and how long I want to stay on a maintenance dose and how I want to taper off of it. Like all this stuff is in place. So it just depends on many factors. If it gets to the point where for some reason my body just suddenly will not allow me to do it anymore, I'll stop. And certainly if I was someone who took Medicaid, like you see that, like I said, the horror stories of people who end up in the hospital over it or whatever, no, I wouldn't stay on it. I wouldn't suggest you do either. But as I just told you with the mental health medication I was on, medication tends to have side effects to some people. Some people it just don't do right by. And I cannot tell you personally if that's going to be the case with you. I think you need to listen to your body. I think you need to, like I said, really weigh the pros and cons of what you're signing up for. And like I said, understand that this is going to deal with the physical component of your weight gain and your weight issues. But if something is going on below the surface, as it was for me, this will not solve it. The only thing it's going to give you is a little bit of freedom and space to kind of observe your behaviors and patterns with a little more objectivity. Because when you're in the middle of like, oh, I feel fat, I keep gaining weight, I lost weight and I gained it again, that whole like, you know, emotional temper tantrum we can throw around our weight, it is so difficult to scale back and look at what's really going on. And that is something you can have with this medication. I will say it's still not going to solve all the problems, because you can identify a problem all day and twice on Sunday and do not one damn thing to fix it. So yes, definitely enjoy the freedom of food noise and kind of the ease at which the weight loss comes. Because when I say ease, I don't mean it's easy. You do still need to, like, I still watch what I eat. I still work out every chance I get. I mean, I'm eating very little, so it's hard to like, I wouldn't go to CrossFit right now, but I walk like 4 miles a day, every day that I can, weather permitting. You know, we have a gym out in my garage I go in. Like, I'm still putting in effort. It's just a different mental thing because the results are coming and I'm not stressed out about it the way I used to be. Like losing sleep over it the way I used to be when I was on weight loss journeys. Is it expensive? Yeah. It is. It's definitely something not everyone can afford. I wish I could wave a magic wand and fix that, but alas, I am not in control of any of that. I would say this. Here's what I will say. I have a video coming up talking about like glow up commandments and how to strategize your glow up because it is very strategic. I will say this. I have a friend who, like me, or like I was, you know, is significantly overweight. Very. She knows it. You know what I mean? It's not a secret. She's very overweight. And she came into a little bit of money. And like we do as girls, you know, we're going to get our hair done. She got lip filler for the first time. She tried Botox. Like, she was spending money on her beauty, which please, queen, do it. I love you. Only the best for my boo-boo. But if I would have been at the helm of her glow up, I would have been like, spend it on Ozempic. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna have a glow up, even if it means you can't get your nails done for 6 months, you got to budget out other things that you do for your beauty or whatever. I hate to put it to you this plainly, but it is a fact. Everybody looks better thinner. There's no amount of hair extensions, lip filler, Botox, spending hours on makeup, like that is not going to make it. It feels productive and it's easy to do. So I get why, because I know I did it. Like when I've been super overweight, oh my God, I spent way more money on shit like Botox and filler and hair extension, anything but my weight. Because I knew I felt like shit and wanted to feel better about myself. Those were just easy buttons to push to get that party started. So yeah, it's expensive. Especially if you don't get it through your insurance, which it's really hard to get covered anyway. But my point is, figure it out if you can. If you literally cannot, there are other options. I'm not telling you this as in like, it's Ozempic or nothing, baby. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you're already thinking about it, you've weighed it out, you've done your research, you think this could truly be a solution for you, and the price is what's stopping you, don't go like make stupid financial decisions, but see what you can figure out. See what you can figure out. Especially, like I said, if you're already spending money on your beauty and your glow up anyway, let's make sure we're spending it in the best possible place. Again, if this is something you're considering, I am not trying to convince anybody who does not feel that this path is correct for them. That's not my job here. I'm not trying to appeal to anyone. I'm not trying to convert anyone. I'm not making any money off talking about this at all. I just want to shoot you straight and give you like a little bit of guidance in this if you are considering it, because there's a lot of shame around it. I had to really weigh out whether or not I wanted to make this video. But like I said, eventually y'all gonna start asking me how I lost weight, and people have seen me going and getting my little shot. So People know that I've done it, and I'm not gonna lie and hide or anything like that. I'd rather just be honest. So I can't think of any other questions off the top of my head or more immediate questions I can think of. Leave them down below and maybe I'll make a different video as this weight loss continues. For me, this has been an extremely helpful tool. Now, again, as we're about to discuss, it's not enough, however. That's what I've learned. Well, what have I learned throughout all this? The nightmare part of this. Like I told you, I'm only halfway through my weight loss journey. And even still, to be halfway there and still have so far to go, 40 pounds to go, still is incredibly, I don't even know what the word is. I don't want you guys to get confused or feel sorry for me or think that I'm like, pity partying myself. These are just facts. And they were hard facts to reconcile with. They do not feel good at first when you identify them, but it's very liberating to face them head the F on, which is what I was avoiding for so long. But the number one question that I've kind of found myself meditating and praying on is, did I hate myself? Like, have you guys ever posed that question to yourself when you look back at bad behavior, whether it's, financial stuff? In fact, here's something I've learned about myself too, because my spending prior or just my willingness to ignore financial messiness on my part, I've learned over the years, tends to run in tandem with my weight. It's crazy. But if you ever look back on something foolish and reckless that you did, financial messiness, toxic relationships, jumping from job to job, I don't know, whatever it is, have you ever looked at that behavior before and asked yourself, like, do I hate myself? Because I am trying to tell you what, that is the only logical conclusion I can come to. And I know we can sit here and we can untangle like, oh, it's because when I was 4, like whatever it is. The minutia of it all is not, that those are just the things we can point to and identify as like, okay, well, this happened and then that happened and whatever. It's just about getting underneath all of that, and whatever psychological messiness or events in my life had to happen to get me to this belief system are kind of less of a concern to me anymore. The bigger concern is like, I must have hated myself at one point, like truly. It's why I keep comparing what I was doing to self-harm. Because look, I am not trying to make the case for the fact that if you put on 10, 15 pounds, during the holidays or while you're pregnant or whatever, that means you hate yourself. I can't speak for everybody. I just know that there must have been, and I've actually talked about this in a video before. I forgot that I had talked about this in a video before. I think it was a video that I made. It was actually a video I made when I was in the middle of my panic disorder and I was trying to talk about like trauma and stuff, and I just happened to watch it back. You guys, other YouTubers watch their own videos sometimes. I do it just to make sure I don't repeat myself too much and see if like I made a point in a video that maybe I should expand on another way. But anyway, in the video, I said this years ago and had forgotten about this. But I think the problem with me is I can get a little addicted to hating myself in a way. Or it's almost like I was telling you before, like my brain wants something to do, to fixate on, to avoid a thought. And I think the thought is that I hate myself. And I don't hate myself all the time. You know what I mean? Because there's periods in my life where, the fitness is going great and watching my weight's going well and I'm operating on cylinders, but something will happen. That's what I've learned about myself. The most recent example would be my mom died, which just snowballed into so many other issues we'll talk about in the mental health video later. It's almost like I needed to punish I told y'all, I can't even finish the sentence because it's not even that it sounds crazy. It almost sounds like, well, how does someone even have those thoughts about themselves cognitively and not feel compelled to do anything about it? And I think it depends again on like what's going on in your life, because as I said before, the Ozempic for me, what it has done is allowed me to get my weight under control with, much less effort and mental exhaustion. Like in the past, as I told you, it would really just take over. And even when I would gain a lot of weight, the thing that would stop me from getting it back under control sometimes would be like, there are not enough hours in the day. I'm already tired. I couldn't imagine trying to tack a weight loss journey onto this as well. When you're truly dealing with like self-image issues for whatever reason, our brain has a really interesting way of like creating like distraction, like misdirection. Like, let's focus actually on the fact that you ate 300 calories more on your macros today. We're not going to look at the fact that this is actually rooted in the side of you that just wants to believe you're a piece of shit. Like, somewhere down the line, you got it in your head that you're a piece of shit, and now you are doing everything you can to make sure you don't ever forget it. And that's why, like I said, I take such issue with the whole like body positivity thing, because yeah, sure, two things can be true at once. There was a time collectively in fashion and media where like anorexia was truly the beauty standard, but that's not why people struggle with this. In extreme cases, of course, but for almost the entirety of this country is obese. And some of these people weren't even alive when that was kind of the beauty standard anyway. The thermodynamics of losing weight are incredibly simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It truly is. Are you eating more calories than your body can burn off? Now, again, barring significant health issues, which some of those health issues are actually being caused by your weight to begin with. Or like I said, some medication, like the one I was on, that's what did it to me. But also, there have been many times where my binge eating has done it. You guys, we talk so much at the body positivity, the eating disorders. Binge eating disorder is a thing. I remember the first time I even heard about binge eating disorder. I thought it was a joke. I was like in my house cleaning or something, and TV's on in the background, and this ad comes on, and this woman's sitting up there, and she's very solemn and very serious, and she's basically saying, I thought that, I ate like a normal person. I would eat really healthy throughout most of the week, but then on the weekends or sometimes at night, I would eat like a whole pizza or something like that. And I remember hearing her say that and be like, that's normal though. Like, I just was like, that's not what everybody does all the time. Like, binge eating disorder is a thing. It truly is. And a lot of people, this is what I was going back to when I said about like money and me. My financial messiness, when it rears its ugly head, goes in tandem, because it's a binging behavior. It is a self-soothing behavior. I even know I can pinpoint where it started. We can talk about that another day. This video's long enough. But I have always kind of done that. Like, I'll even work myself into a little stupor and then burn out, and y'all won't see me for like 3 months. Like, it's definitely in me to have like a binging behavior or a binging mentality. And that is even still a symptom of a larger issue. That is just a symptom of some weird self-loathing shit that I thought, up until recently I had dealt with. And it wasn't until this weight started coming off and I started being able to see that and still not even being done. You guys might be like, you look great. But if you look at me and you're like, oh no, you don't need to lose any more weight. I do. I still have like 40 pounds to go. But just to go this far, come this far, see this much of a change in my body, and then still be nowhere near done, really illuminated for me how bad it got. And then let's go back to what I was saying before when I told you I've always had body image issues. I call it body image issues. What I've always had is an anxiety disorder. I've had anxiety my whole life, but didn't even know I thought everyone felt that way, okay? Again, watch the mental health video. So I've always had anxiety. And in fact, things like anorexia, bulimia, things of that nature are an anxiety-related disorder. That's why it exists. It's why it's a mental health issue. It's taking place in your brain. I've always had anxiety, and I think at some point, for whatever reason, there have been times in my life where I have internalized that on my body. Now, we can debate, it's because you're a woman in the patriarchy, whatever. I still had it. So even when I was super thin, I still thought I was fat. And I just always have. It didn't matter how big I was. So once I actually started gaining this weight, especially after that first like 15, 20 pounds, like I told you guys, I put it on in 2014. It's like once it started coming on, it was almost like I couldn't even see it because I've always thought I'm fat. Does that make any sense? Like if you believe something about yourself has always been the case, you can't even tell when it's not the case, and you apparently certainly can't tell when it is super, very much so the case. So being like well over 200 pounds and then getting some of that off, that's why I keep saying the only logical conclusion is it's a mental it is. It's a huge mental issue. It is an addiction to feeling like shit about myself. And it's truly, like I said, what's upsetting is the fact that I came to this realization in 2021. And you would think that that would have had some measurable change, but no, I took a pill to deal with that. We'll talk about it in the mental health video, excuse me, instead of actually like doing the work. You know, like I said before, I think weight stuff can be a byproduct of mental health stuff. And the other side of it truly is, you guys, humans are not evolving fast enough to keep up with our environment. And that is evident in the host of mental health issues, the astronomical levels of reported unhappiness that are going on in America outside of all the other shit we got going on here. But for the most part, we are doing things as a collective in 2024 that scoff in the face of what is truly correct and right for the human experience and for human wellness. Much like our dogs. I always go back to this. When you have a dog, right? We all know there's even food you can't feed a dog because it will poison it, right? We know that feeding it table scraps all the time could result in extreme health issues. We have very prescriptive dog food. This is the dog approved food. The dog needs exercise. The dog needs sunshine. Some dogs have like deep instincts, like worker dogs. Like, we accept as human beings that the natural world, there is law and order. And for some reason, when it comes to us, this is like what I'm talking about when people are trying to intellectualize and politicize everything. Like when you get so smart, you're an effing idiot. We are much the same. And the food that we obsess about and feel locked out of when we're on a weight loss journey, and our attachment to that food, and I'm saying air quotes because it's not food. That can be another part of this. Like the amount of calorie dense foods that we have normalized as a part of everyday life, compounded by the fact that most of us are spending most of our day looking at a friggin' screen and not moving our asses. Like, of course we're going to gain weight. It's like I said, thermodynamics are pretty cut and dry. Again, barring significant health issues, which again, a lot of people's health issues are because of the damn weight. It's a horrible, horrible cycle to get on. I feel you, right? I get it. You know, or disabilities. I understand there are caveats to this, but again, the amount of people in America, the amount of people you know in your real life, if you just look around at the folks you see every day who are obese and you see how they live, you know what they're doing every day. It's a thing, okay? I wish it wasn't. I wish I could say it is patriarchy. It is capitalism. Like, no, it is ultimately the choices that you're making day in and day out. Now, be that from just a simple like error in calculation. Perhaps you just genuinely have not taken inventory of how much you eat every day. Perhaps you have not looked at a step counter in many, many years, so you don't even know how much you're moving. And maybe for some people, those tweaks are easy. I think those are the people who the root of their issue is maybe not in fact a mental health thing. It could just be life got away from me. I don't know. I'm a lazy piece of shit and I decided to do something about it. For other people like me, I think it can very well be a symptom of something much more insidious and much more harder, much more difficult to untangle yourself from. Through this time, like I said, I've had the objectivity and the mental space and all that good stuff around food and weight to kind of just sit back. You guys ever heard of like an out-of-body experience? People talk about having an out-of-body experience. Maybe they're on an operating table or they took Ambien and they like levitate outside their bodies and they're looking at themselves and watching themselves and observing themselves. That's what this has been like for me. I've been able to kind of like get out of my body and out of my head for a minute around this issue and really dig deep into it. And going back to the whole thing about food and normalizing shitty food, I want to say this really quick and then I gotta go. I was talking to my friend, my same friend before that I mentioned, sorry, I don't know why my phone is going off so much, that she's overweight. Again, she knows it. I'm not trying to talk shit about my friend. She knows it. And in fact, she's now going on a weight loss journey of her own and I'm very proud of her. But anyway, there was a time a few months ago we were talking about the weight thing, weight, food, this, that, and the third. And she was like, Whitney, how do you stop your husband and your daughter from keeping shitty food in the house? Because like for her, one of her bigger issues is there's just this food around her all the time that she's not supposed to eat and it makes it much more difficult. I understand that. In fact, that's a big reason why we don't allow this stuff in our house. That's what I told her, essentially, is it's not allowed in my house. Like, I'm not an almond mom by any stretch of the imagination, but we do not eat out of boxes bags. If I put barbecue sauce on something, I made it. If a dressing goes on a salad, I made it. The only thing I don't do is make like bread at this point. That's because sourdough starter scares the shit out of me, frankly. But for the most part, I'm a little chef in my own right, and I've been running this kitchen in this house and feeding these people for a long time. So I get to decide what we eat every week. You know, nothing comes to this house because I do the grocery shopping. I make the grocery list. I make the meal plan. I cook the food. Again, my weight loss shit, my weight gain stuff is binging, okay? It's not because I cook terrible food all the time. It's because I watch what I eat most of the time until I don't, and then I binge, rinse, wash, repeat. It's very, very damaging to your metabolic system. It's a, like I said, it's a compulsive behavior. It's bad news. Anyway, so she's like, well, how do you change the culture and food around your house? Like, how do you do that? And I told her, like I just told you guys, I'm in charge of it. So that helps a lot. If I don't cook, I don't know what these fools will just order out. It's like they don't even know what to do if I don't. That's number one. But number two, she goes on to tell me like, well, you know, I just don't want my son to have weird issues about food. And I feel like if I don't allow certain foods in the house, he's going to develop weird issues about food. Okay. Fair enough, I guess. However, she went on to film a video of her pantry and send it to me. I don't know. It was Pop-Tarts and Cheez-Its and chips and canned chili and snack cake. Not food. It's not food. It is incredible that in 2024, these companies have convinced us that that is food. And to deny yourself that kind of shit is denying yourself food. I swear to God, my conspiracy theory, my tinfoil hat here is that, you know, if I was Nabisco or Lay's or whatever, I would have been like grassrooting the body positivity movement, because how else can I make sure not only do I have customers for life because they're going to keep eating this shit, but now they've made it into some sort of like signifier of virtue and moral superiority. I eat Chips Ahoy because the patriarchy. Like, it is not food. It is not even close to it. So yeah, if you deprive, in this instance when I'm talking to my best friend, if you were to deprive your son of food, yeah, you're gonna give him some issues, and DFAX is probably gonna get called on you, but nobody is entitled to junk food. We have completely warped our entire perception around food to the degree that the vast majority of people don't even have anything to do with the preparation of their own food. It's Uber Eats, Grubhub, Factor, which Factor is great, don't get me wrong. Those things are meal delivery servicey things are great in a pinch. But you really need to take on the responsibility of feeding yourself and take it very seriously, because outside of the health issues that come from eating this food as it pertains to your body and just the image of it alone, which ultimately will affect your self-esteem and your willingness to even put yourself out there, like, let's call a spade a spade. But these chemicals that they put in these foods, these dyes, these preservatives, these chemicals are affecting your brain. They really do. You guys should, if you have not, I don't know how you haven't yet, but if for some reason you have not significantly investigated the gut-brain connection and how, you know, dysbiosis or problems in your gut can directly affect your mental health, your mental acuity. If you haven't looked into that, and weight and all that good stuff are not motivations enough for you to care more about what you put in your body, I would hope that would be enough. And if it still isn't enough, then I would say things like, do you hate yourself? Like, if you know, if all the evidence is out there, again, this is the shitty thing about it, because there's so much evidence out there right now that's like, this food is poison, your BMI is gonna put you in the hospital, you're gonna have, comorbidities because of your obesity, increases your risks of cancers and things, all that information's there, but now it's tempered by conversations of body positivity. I know there's a lot of information on either side. You really have to examine which information is actually making you better, not just making you feel better in the moment for a little while. And if you do all the work of looking into how to eat better, the benefits of it, what it does for your body, what it does for your mental health, and you still don't want to do it, we have to go back to my original statement, like what I told you. I've been struggling, not struggling with it. I think I'm trying to forgive myself and work on this, like change my behavior on a daily basis so that I stop acting like I freaking hate myself. And just the biggest piece of advice I can give you guys, do not allow the internet or anyone else to dictate to you what is morally correct and morally wrong if those things are causing you pain. If it's causing you problems, I don't give a shit how many TikTokers are out there trying to tell you that it's rooted in racism. I don't care. I don't care. They're not the ones who are having to live with these issues. And if you've ever had significant health issues, which, hello, I told you guys I had gestational diabetes. That's bad enough. But I'm also very high risk for cancer. I've told you guys, that's what I just had surgery about. It was related to my cancer stuff that I've been dealing with for over a year now. I will never, probably never be totally out of the woods here. So being obese and being high risk for cancer is, again, self-harm behavior. So stop letting people, just stop making your weight, your body image, your health, your behaviors, your patterns, your habits, whatever. Stop making them about anything more than, is this an act of love for myself or hate? Because sometimes you know how they say, know thy enemy, know thyself? It's because sometimes they're one and the same. That's all I'm going to leave you with, because this video is long as hell. I'm literally going to turn this camera off and make the mental health video, because I feel like both of these stories and these perspectives are crucial in understanding who I am now and why I have the position that, because I'm a very different person, you guys. If you've been following me since 2019, so I'm just not the same person. A lot of stuff has happened, and I feel like these two stories and these two things I've been dealing with explain a lot of that. So anyway, I gotta go. Please leave all your fun facts, your tips, your tricks, share your stories. Let's connect. Let's get closer here on the internet. I really want to get back to the close-knit kind of community thing I used to have here, because I am a bored housewife most of the time and I need online friends. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.